All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking some pretty dry risk management theory and turning it into a high-stakes detective story. We're talking about predicting supply chain failure before it actually happens. So grab a notebook because the strategies we're looking at today, they are quite literally the fundamental difference between thriving during a global crisis and having your entire production line grind to a complete disastrous halt. Okay, let's just dive right into this massive, absolutely staggering number. $500 million. That was the daily cost of frozen trade during the 2023 Port of Vancouver strike. Just an eye-watering loss of capital. But, here is the ultimate twist of this whole story. This catastrophe was entirely predictable, days, even weeks in advance. The early warning signals were all there in public view, just blinking red. So how did so many incredibly smart, well-resourced companies get totally blindsided? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. To figure out how predictive data actually stops these real-world nightmares, we're going to follow a quick 4-part roadmap today. 1. KPIs versus KRIs. 2. The power of risk audits. 3. Tracking across 5 stages. And 4. Strengths and limitations. Let's just jump right in. Starting with Section 1, KPIs versus KRIs. Looking backward versus looking forward. Okay, look at the friction between these two concepts. On the left, we've got KPIs, or Key Performance Indicators. Basically, these act as your rear-view mirror. They show you exactly where you've been. But on the right, we have KRIs, Key Risk Indicators. These serve as your automated radar, actively scanning the horizon for approaching storms. And look, a brilliant risk response strategy is completely useless if you aren't continuously monitoring the environment to adapt to new information before it hits you. To make this super concrete, a KPI sounds exactly like this. We achieved 98% on-time delivery last month. It's a measure of past success. And sure, it feels absolutely fantastic to report that to your boss in a quarterly meeting, but it tells you absolutely zero about tomorrow. It doesn't tell you if your trucks are actually going to show up next Tuesday when the weather turns. But conversely, a KRI gives you the actual lead time you need to do something about it. It sounds more like, the financial leverage ratio of our primary supplier has increased 15% this quarter, signaling potential bankruptcy. See the difference there? The key test of a good metric is whether it buys you enough time to make a decision before everything falls apart. A 15% jump in leverage? That is a massive red flag. It's basically a crystal ball giving you the chance to go out and source an alternative supplier today. Which brings us to Section 2, the power of risk audits, checking the physical locks. Because relying on automated data alone simply won't save you when things get messy. A risk audit is defined by human intervention. While your KRIs are, usually automated data feeds just churning away in the background, an audit is essentially someone getting up from their desk and physically checking the locks to make sure the bunker is actually safe. It's a scheduled, formal review, verifying that physical buffers and contracted redundancies actually exist in the physical world. And the whole point here is that these mitigations have to exist in reality, not just as theoretical plans sitting in a static binder on some dusty shelf. Seriously, a contract that says a supplier is going to provide a backup generator means absolutely nothing if that generator hasn't been turned on in 5 years. You literally have to verify operational readiness on the ground with your own eyes. Okay, on to Section 3, tracking across 5 stages, the journey through the supply chain. Let's take a linear journey through the supply chain to apply these radars and audits directly to real-world scenarios. Stage 1 is sourcing. You have to ask, if one supplier goes down, does your entire line just stop? At this stage, your KRI radar actively monitors component spend. It alerts you if over 30% of your spend gets concentrated in a single supplier, which warns you of a disproportionate production impact if they happen to fail. And you pair that with an annual deep dive financial audit, ensuring your primary suppliers actually have the cash flow to survive a recession. Because check this out, 78%. That is what happens when that specific radar is missing. Toyota's production plummeted a staggering 78% in April 2011 after the Tohoku earthquake. The disaster revealed that 1,260 parts were at risk across 659 damaged supplier sites. They simply didn't know their concentration risk. So after that, Toyota learned their lesson and mapped all critical components across multiple tiers, mandating months of physical buffer stock. Moving to Stage 2, your lower-tier suppliers. Here, your KRI flags missing financial statements. If it's been over 90 days, boom, an alert fires. Why? Because financial distress at lower tiers is completely invisible until it causes a sudden halt. Meanwhile, your risk audits enforce unannounced physical inspections of Tier 1 facilities just to confirm they're actually holding the strategic subcomponents they are contracted to hold. General Motors suffered a catastrophic blind spot here regarding their Tier 2 semiconductor suppliers. They had virtually zero visibility, and that eventually caused a total halt of their North American assembly plants during the 2021 chip shortage. Tracking that 90-day financial health window might have unveiled that creeping fragility way before it shut down entire factories. For Stage 3, transportation, tracking public communications is your best friend. If a collective agreement at a primary port is within 90 days of expiry and there's no renewal, your KRI triggers. Route disruption is almost always foreseeable if you're actually paying attention. And then, you pair this with annual legal audits of your multimodal backup agreements to ensure your Plan B is actually legally binding when push comes to shove. Let's circle back to that Vancouver port strike. Even though 5 whole months of public signals warned of the impending strike, including a massive 98% strike vote, a total lack of KRIs meant most Canadian importers had no radar monitoring labor relations. They were totally blindsided by a devastating 13-day freeze. That, again, cost $500 million a day, and it was all totally avoidable. Stage 4 covers inventory and warehousing. Your automated KRI radar recalculates your daily days of cover. If any critical item falls below its lead time plus buffer, you get an alert immediately. A stockout is almost always visible in advance if you're watching the right number. As for audits, well, you physically test the redundant climate control systems and those backup generators in cold storage every 6 months. Because knowing you have a backup generator is totally useless if the fuel inside has gone bad. Northam Tech learned this lesson the hard way. They were holding only 4 days of stock for a critical sensor against an 18-day lead time. That's a massive mathematical gap that was completely visible in their ERP system well before the crisis ever hit. But because no alert existed, that invisible cliff caught them, and their production lines simply stopped. Finally, we hit Stage 5, distribution and demand. Look, demand shifts rarely happen instantaneously. The early signal is usually a change in the rate of orders, not a sudden cliff. So your KRI alerts you if a top customer shows a volume drop of 20% or more over just 2 weeks. And your quarterly audits should be reviewing safety stock parameters that are hard-coded in your software, ensuring they reflect current market volatility, not just some outdated history from 3 years ago. Tracking these sell-through rate shifts from point-of-sale data could have given Canadian fashion retailers a massive 4 to 6 week head start before consumer spending pivoted heavily in early 2022. Think about it. They had ordered all this pandemic-era loungewear 6 to 9 months in advance. An early KRI warning could have prevented all that inventory from becoming permanently stranded when buyers suddenly shifted to wanting occasion wear. And that brings us to Section 4, Strengths and Limitations, the reality of data fatigue. As we wrap up, we have to look objectively at both the immense strengths and the sobering realities of this whole strategy. There is a real core tension here. On one hand, the superpower is undeniable. This approach makes risk management a continuous, living organizational habit. It drives proactive decision-making rather than reactive panic. But on the other hand, the limitation? Identifying the correct, highly predictive KRIs is incredibly difficult. Organizations constantly suffer from data fatigue because they track way too many unnecessary metrics, creating a dashboard with so many blinking lights that everyone eventually just ignores them. Distinguishing true early warning signals from mere noise takes a lot of analytical maturity and experience. So I want to leave you with this final, absolutely crucial question to consider about your own operations. When you boot up your computer and look at your dashboard tomorrow morning, are you actually watching the right numbers that predict the future? Or are you just staring at the noise in the rearview mirror? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.